The story goes like this. The disbelievers of Mecca challenged Muhammad to prove he was truly a prophet of God. They wanted a sign, not words, not promises, not scripture. A sign. Something visible, undeniable, something that could not be explained away. So Muhammad pointed to the sky and the moon split in half. Right there above the desert, the moon cracked into two distinct pieces. The people of Mecca saw it with their own eyes. Two halves of the moon separated in the night sky, then came back together. The ultimate miracle. God's proof, delivered through his final prophet, written permanently into the heavens. That is the story as it is told across the Islamic world. It comes from the Quran itself. Surah Al-Qamar, chapter 54, opens with the words, "The hour has drawn near, and the moon has split." The Hadith literature, particularly in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, the two most trusted collections in Sunni Islam, contains multiple narrations from companions who claim to have witnessed the event. It is not treated as metaphor by mainstream Islamic scholarship. It is treated as a literal physical event that occurred in the sky above Mecca during Muhammad's lifetime, somewhere around the year 613 to 615 CE. Over 1 billion Muslims believe this happened. It is taught in Islamic schools. It is cited in debates as evidence of Muhammad's prophethood. It is defended by scholars, preachers, and apologists around the world. Some have even claimed that NASA discovered evidence of the splitting on the lunar surface, but it never happened. And the evidence against it is not ambiguous. It is devastating. Here are 7 proofs that Muhammad never split the moon. Proof number 1. No other civilization on Earth recorded the moon splitting in half. This is the single most damning problem with the story, and no Islamic scholar has ever adequately answered it. In the year 613 CE, there were advanced civilizations actively observing, documenting, and recording astronomical events on every populated continent on Earth. The Chinese had been keeping meticulous astronomical records for over 2,000 years by that point. Chinese astronomers documented solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, comets, supernovae, meteor showers, and unusual atmospheric phenomena. Their records from this period survive to this day, and yet they record no account of the moon splitting in half. The Byzantine Empire, which controlled the eastern Mediterranean and was geographically close to Arabia, had active astronomers and scholars. The Sassanid Persian Empire, Arabia's immediate neighbor, had a sophisticated astronomical tradition inherited from Babylonian science. Indian astronomers had been tracking planetary movements and eclipses with remarkable precision for centuries. The Mayans in Central America built one of the most accurate astronomical calendars in the ancient world. The Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, and the Japanese all kept astronomical records. None of these civilizations recorded the moon splitting. The moon is visible to half the planet at any given time. If it physically split into 2 pieces, hundreds of millions of people across dozens of civilizations would have witnessed the most extraordinary astronomical event in human history. Every astronomer, every court recorder, every priest, every poet, every farmer who happened to look up at the sky that night would have seen it. It would have been the most documented event in ancient history. Instead, the only people who claim to have seen it are a small group in one city in the Arabian desert. Nobody else on Earth noticed. Proof number 2. There is 0 physical evidence on the moon's surface. If the moon had been physically split into 2 halves and then reunited, the event would have left a catastrophic geological signature. The forces required to split a celestial body with a diameter of over 2,100 miles and a mass of 73 billion trillion kilograms would be beyond anything known in physics. The resulting fracture, even if somehow healed, would have left a scar visible from Earth, detectable by every telescope, every satellite, and every lunar probe that has ever studied the moon's surface. NASA has mapped the entire lunar surface in extraordinary detail. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has photographed the moon at resolutions where individual boulders are visible. The Apollo missions brought back lunar rock samples from multiple locations. Japanese, Chinese, Indian, and European space agencies have all sent missions to study the moon. None of them have found evidence of the moon ever splitting. There is no fracture line, no seam, no geological discontinuity consistent with a splitting event. The moon's geological history has been studied extensively, and it shows a record of gradual formation, meteorite impacts, and volcanic activity over 4.5 billion years. It shows no evidence of being torn in half and put back together. Some Islamic apologists have pointed to a feature called Rima Area Deus, a linear channel on the moon's surface about 300 kilometers long, as evidence of the splitting. But Rima Area Deus is a graben, a geological feature formed by tectonic activity billions of years ago. It is a shallow trench, not a crack through the entire moon. It has been studied extensively by geologists and has nothing to do with a splitting event. Claiming Rima Area Deus is evidence of the moon splitting is like pointing at a crack in a sidewalk and claiming the Earth was once split in half. Now, if this is the kind of content that makes you think, that examines sacred claims with evidence instead of emotion, I need you to subscribe to this channel right now, turn on notifications, and drop a comment telling me, did you grow up hearing this story? When was the first time you questioned it? That engagement is how we keep making content like this. Let's continue. Proof number 3. The physics of splitting the moon would have destroyed life on Earth. The moon is held together by its own gravitational binding energy. The amount of energy required to split it into two pieces would be roughly equivalent to the gravitational binding energy of the entire moon, which is approximately 1.2 times 10 to the 29th power joules. For perspective, that is billions of times more energy than the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated. If that energy was released anywhere near Earth's orbit, the effects would have been apocalyptic: massive tidal disruptions, earthquakes across the planet, tsunamis thousands of feet high. Debris ejected from the splitting would have bombarded Earth's atmosphere. The gravitational disruption alone would have altered Earth's orbit, its rotation, and its axial tilt. None of these things happened. The Earth in 613 CE continued rotating exactly as it had before. The tides remained normal. No civilization recorded earthquakes, tsunamis, or gravitational disturbances of any kind. The moon splitting and reuniting without producing any physical effects on Earth is not just unlikely. It violates the fundamental laws of physics as we understand them. The standard Islamic response to this is that God can override the laws of physics. That is a theological claim, not a scientific one. But once you move the argument from the claim that this physically happened to the claim that God can do anything, you have left the realm of evidence entirely. You are no longer making a historical claim. You are making a faith claim. And faith claims cannot be tested, which means they cannot be presented as proof of anything. Proof number 4. The Quran's own language is ambiguous. The verse that forms the foundation of this miracle is Surah 54, verse 1. It reads, "The hour has drawn near, and the moon has split." Islamic scholars have debated for centuries whether this verse describes a past event or a future prophecy about the Day of Judgment. The Arabic verb inshaka is in the past tense, but Quranic Arabic frequently uses the past tense to describe future events that are so certain they are spoken of as if they have already happened. This is a recognized feature of Quranic grammar called the prophetic perfect. Several early Muslim scholars, including Ibn Abbas in some narrations, interpreted this verse as referring to the end times, not to a historical event during Muhammad's lifetime. The very next words, "The hour has drawn near," are clearly about the Day of Judgment. Reading the verse as a description of what will happen when the hour arrives, rather than what already happened in Mecca, is grammatically and contextually valid. This means the Quran itself does not unambiguously state that the moon was physically split during Muhammad's lifetime. The claim rests more heavily on hadith narrations than on the Quran, and the hadith literature, as we will see, has its own problems. Proof number 5. The hadith accounts are inconsistent and problematic. The moon-splitting story appears in multiple hadith collections, but the accounts vary in significant details. Some narrations say the moon split into two pieces. Others do not specify what the witnesses actually saw. Some say the people of Mecca asked for the miracle. Others say it happened spontaneously. Some narrations attribute the witnessing to specific companions. Others are vague about who was present. More critically, all of the hadith narrations trace back to a small number of original narrators. This is a critical problem because the hadith transmission system relies on chains of narration, and when all chains converge on the same small group of people, the historical reliability depends entirely on whether those individuals accurately reported what they saw. There is no independent corroboration from anyone outside Muhammad's immediate circle. No Meccan pagan who witnessed the splitting left a record of it. No traveler passing through Mecca at the time mentioned it. The only people who reported it are the people who already believed Muhammad was a prophet. There is also a narration in which the Meccan disbelievers, after supposedly witnessing the moon split in half in front of their eyes, dismissed it as magic and still refused to believe. Think about that for a moment. The story claims that people watched the moon crack into two pieces with their own eyes, and their response was essentially that it was a nice trick. That is not how human beings react to seeing the sky break. If you saw the moon split in half, you would not call it magic and go back to your dinner. You would never recover from that experience. The casual dismissal described in the narrations reads like a theological narrative, not a historical account. Like this video right now. Share it with someone who has never heard these arguments before. And leave a comment telling me which proof you think is the most powerful. Now let us finish this. Proof number 6. The story follows a pattern of miracle escalation common to all religions. Every major religion claims its founder or prophet performed miracles that proved their divine authority. Jesus walked on water and raised the dead. Moses parted the Red Sea. Hindu gods performed cosmic feats that altered the fabric of reality. The Buddha supposedly performed supernatural acts after his enlightenment, and Muhammad split the moon. These miracle claims all serve the same function. They establish the special status of the religious figure, and they create a test of loyalty. Believe the miracle and you are a true follower. Question it and you are a disbeliever. The miracle story is not evidence. It is a recruitment tool. It separates the faithful from the skeptical and rewards belief over inquiry. What's revealing is that every religion's miracle claims are believed passionately by its own followers and dismissed instantly by followers of every other religion. Christians who believe Jesus walked on water see no reason to believe Muhammad split the moon. Muslims who believe Muhammad split the moon see no reason to believe Jesus rose from the dead. Hindus who believe Hanuman lifted a mountain see both claims as false. Everyone applies skepticism to every miracle except the ones from their own tradition. That selective belief is not evidence of truth. It is evidence of cultural conditioning. Proof number 7. The miracle failed its own purpose. According to the Islamic narrative, the moon splitting was performed specifically to convince the disbelievers of Mecca that Muhammad was a true prophet. It was a response to their demand for a sign. God split the moon to prove Muhammad's prophethood. It did not work. According to the same sources that describe the miracle, the disbelievers saw the moon split and still rejected Muhammad. They called it sorcery. They walked away, unconvinced. The Quran itself says they turned away and called it passing magic. So the most spectacular miracle in the history of the natural world, the only time a celestial body was physically altered as a sign from God, failed to convince the very people it was performed for. The all-knowing, all-powerful creator of the universe chose to split the moon as his proof, and the target audience shrugged it off. Either the miracle happened and God's strategy failed, which contradicts the Islamic concept of God's perfect wisdom, or the miracle did not happen, and the story was constructed later to elevate Muhammad's status to match or exceed the miracle traditions of Christianity and Judaism. The second explanation is simpler, more consistent with the evidence, and does not require God to be bad at persuasion. 7 proofs. No civilization on Earth recorded the moon splitting. No physical evidence exists on the lunar surface. The physics would have destroyed life on Earth. The Quran's own language is ambiguous about whether it even describes a past event. The Hadith accounts are inconsistent and come only from believers. The miracle follows a pattern found in every religion, and the miracle failed to achieve its stated purpose. Any one of these proofs can be debated individually. Islamic scholars have spent centuries constructing responses to each one. But all 7 together? The total absence of evidence from every civilization that was watching the sky that night, combined with the complete lack of physical evidence on the moon itself, combined with the impossibility of the physics, combined with the ambiguity of the source text. That's not a debate. That's a verdict. And the verdict is that the moon splitting is a theological narrative, not a historical event. It was constructed to establish Muhammad's authority in a world where prophets were expected to perform miracles. And as a faith story, it served that purpose. But as history? As something that actually happened in the physical world? The evidence says no, clearly, consistently, and completely. Thank you for watching. If this video challenged something you believed, that's not a threat. That's growth. If you want more content that examines the claims of every religion with evidence instead of emotion, subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. We'll see you in the next one. Reason over rituals. Always.